assaulted by some other drunk who I fell on because I got punched and went flying. Well, it turns out the guy was just trying to hold me because he didn't want me to get up and go running back and go back after the guy, which I wouldn't have done. I mean, listen, there's no sense in trying to argue or rationalize with anybody who was clearly as drunk as this lowlife was. But I tell the story because I have heard stories of complete and utter horror involving being a fan of an opposite team and going to Philadelphia and trying to root for your team. It's just not possible because the fans, in many, many regards, are vicious. And they know it. See, that's the funny part, is that they'll be the first ones to admit that they are vicious people and they don't like visitors coming into their territory, and that if you dare to do it, they're going to try and assault you and do something to make your stay in the stadium or at the Spectrum or at the Wachovia Center, wherever the hell it is, a miserable experience. But what I take, and having listened to 9:50 a.m. this afternoon, is that the fans are disgusted by the actions of this guy. They are disgusted that a fan would go so low as to puke himself and to puke on a young girl who was just simply sitting there, had nothing to do with the fact that this guy's friend got thrown out of the game or anything of that nature, just simply was there trying to enjoy a baseball game. Now, one of the overwhelming things that you keep hearing, and for the sports fans out there, you may agree or disagree with this, is that you will find those kind of things tend to happen in the 400, 500, and 600 levels of stadiums. But when you get into the single, double digits, and the 100 levels and the 200 levels, these kind of things don't happen because the tickets are more expensive. And you're liable to have more raucous fans sitting in the upper echelons of a stadium. I'm going to tell you what, that part I don't buy. I know it may be true, but it doesn't matter where you sit. You know, you don't deserve to have that kind of treatment. You don't. And I got to be honest with you, as a fan of the hockey team whose hat is sitting right in front of me, there have been many occasions where I have gone to games where fans of the opposing team were in the building, whether it's against Philadelphia, New York, Long Island, Boston, Pittsburgh. A lot of time these fans travel and come and watch a game in New Jersey. But guess what? By simply keeping your mouth shut and letting the game go on and letting the team go out, your team go out and win, it wouldn't matter who else is sitting in that arena because it shuts them up. And so I've always made the choice when I go to these types of games to just keep my mouth closed, not to bother with them, because most of the time they just want to see their team play a game. They're not there to cause trouble. Yes, there are times where there are people who do that and who do want to cause some serious trouble. But for the most part, coexisting inside an arena or a sporting event with fans of an opposing team is not a difficult task. But part of the reason that it gets so escalated and so difficult, and I'm not so sure if this were the case with this kid because nobody really said whether he was drinking or not. In fact, I heard that he may be a disturbed person who wasn't even drinking. But for the most part, the reason that these things happen is because people do not know how to control the consumption of alcoholic beverages when they go to sporting events. People just don't know when to say, I think I've had enough. Or even if they do know when they have had enough, or whether, or if they're getting close to towing the line of having too much. People behave differently in different circumstances when they're drinking. And that type of behavior gets very, very detrimental and very dangerous for young people especially. One of the guys on WPEN, the sports radio ESPN station in Philadelphia, called up and he said that he was down at an Eagles game a couple of years ago, He's a fan of the Eagles, but his son somehow is a fan of the Giants. And his kid was wearing a Giants jersey at the Eagles Giants game at that stadium, the football stadium down there. He said that his kid, 16 years old, got clocked in the back of the head with a glass bottle for no other reason but because he was wearing a New York Giants jersey. Now, I'm not trying to make it seem like this stuff doesn't happen in New York or in New Jersey, because it does, and I don't want to make excuses that it's only Philadelphia where these types of things happen. But to a man, I think anybody who knows anything about sports will tell you, nowhere on earth is it more out of control than in the city of Philadelphia and at the events that take place at arenas and stadiums in the city of Philadelphia. It is out of control. And the suggestion was that that cow be suspended from and banned from ever going to a Philadelphia Phillies game ever again. That should be just the minimal punishment that he gets. I mean, he shouldn't be going to any sporting event. Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, any of those. He should never be able to go to a sporting event again after that kind of behavior. But this guy needs to be prosecuted. He really needs to be prosecuted because, you know, I've always felt that I think I'd rather, and I saw Saab put this in the chat room today, what would you rather, get punched in the face or get puked on? 100% I'd rather get punched in the face than puked on or spit upon by another human being. I don't know if there's anything lower you could do to another human being than just spit in their face or puke on them. And so that's why I really think this guy needs to get punished, and he needs to be punished very thoroughly. It's unbelievable. It's just unfathomable that these kind of things happen. And a young kid, 11 years old. I could understand if two people got into a fight with each other over something at a baseball game. It happens. There are times when people elbow you incorrectly or improperly when you're at a game, or if somebody stands up and won't get the hell out of the way. Happens all the time. But it was an 11-year-old, and as Sab just said, it was a girl. A girl. And I don't care how drunk you are, you still know that even though you don't do things like that to another human being, you especially don't do it to a girl. So not only is this fat pig and slob a disgusting human being, he also did it to a girl. So something's severely wrong with him.